Hi and welcome. My name is Stephanie, and today I have a quick and gentle prenatal yoga flow to share with you. This class is safe for all trimesters of pregnancy and is suitable for all levels of yoga. I personally love doing this flow early in the morning or even right before bed to try and address some of that hip and lower back pain that is so common in pregnancy and that I'm particularly feeling in this late third trimester. You don't need any props to do today's class, so when you're ready, grab your yoga mat and let's begin. We're going to begin today in child's pose. Bring your big toes together and your knees as wide as your mat. On an exhale, sink your hips back down onto your heels and bring your hands out long in front of you before resting your forehead on the mat. We're going to hold this pose for a few breaths, inhaling deeply through our nose and exhaling slowly. With each inhale, try to send your breath into your back body, particularly focusing on your lower back and your hips. And with each exhale, try to release any tension you might be feeling as we settle into today's practice. Let's take one more full round of breath here, inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly. On your next inhale, slowly rise up. We're going to walk our hands over to the left side of our mat before sinking back down into our child's pose. From here, you should feel a gentle stretch through the right side body. Again, we're going to hold this pose for a few rounds of breath. With each inhale, continue to breathe into your back body. And with each exhale, try to release any tension you might be holding, particularly in the lower back or hips. Both areas can tend to get a bit sore and tight during pregnancy, so take this time to show them a bit of love and see if you can't find some relief for any pain you might be feeling there. On your next inhale, slowly begin to rise up. This time we're going to walk our hands over to the right side of our mat before again sinking back down into our child's pose. This time you should be feeling that stretch through the left side body. Again, we're going to hold this pose for a few rounds of breath as we continue to wake up the spine, wake up the lower back, and wake up the hips. You might take this time to set an intention for today's class or to simply check in with yourself to notice how you're feeling, both in your physical body as well as how you're feeling mentally about your pregnancy at this stage. Let's take one final inhale here, breathing deeply through our nose. And as you exhale, slowly push up onto your hands, coming into a tabletop position. We're immediately going to go into some hip circles. Move with your breath here, inhaling as you come forward and exhaling as you sink backwards onto your heels, finding that child's pose position again. Continue to move in a way that feels best for you, perhaps bringing your neck into the practice as well or lifting your gaze. If you haven't already, switch directions, beginning to move in a counterclockwise motion. Again, continuing to move in the way that feels best for you today, trying to pair your breath with your movement as you inhale to come forward and exhale to sink backwards. We'll take about one more hip circle here before we find our tabletop position, making sure our knees are under our hips and our wrists are under our shoulders. From here, let's step the right toes back behind us. We'll rock a little bit back and forward here, enjoying a nice stretch through the right calf muscle and the back of that right leg, before stepping the right toes up to meet the hands and finding our low lunge. Push the hands up off the ground and bring them to rest on the right thigh. And then as you exhale, sink the hips forward, finding a nice stretch through those hip flexors. As you inhale, come out of the pose for a moment before exhaling as you sink forward, noticing if you're able to go a little bit deeper this time. We'll continue to move in and out of the pose here, moving with our breath. As you inhale, think about lifting and lengthening the spine. And as you exhale, sink a little bit deeper, enjoying a nice stretch through your hip flexors, thighs, and glutes. On your next exhale, bring both hands back to the mat. We're going to find a gentle flow here. On an inhale, settle the right palm on the earth and bring your left arm up to the sky. And as you exhale, bring both hands back to the mat again. Inhale to lift that left arm up and exhale to bring it back to the mat. We'll take one more here, inhaling that left arm up before bringing both hands back to the mat. From here, we're going to find our 90-90 pose. Begin by heel-toeing your right foot over to the left side of the mat, and then roll onto your right hip as you bend your left knee to a 90-degree angle. Continue to look out over your right shin as your hips and baby are both pointed in that same direction. We should not be feeling any kind of twisting in the lower back or abdominals here, but you should be feeling a nice stretch through your hip flexors, especially in that left hip. You should also be feeling a nice stretch through that right glute. We'll continue to hold here for one more full round of breath. As you inhale, think about lifting and lengthening the spine. And as you exhale, sink a little bit deeper into the pose. On your next inhale, we're going to roll back onto our glutes as we find our butterfly stretch. You might bring your hands to the soles of your feet here, taking a moment to give yourself a bit of a massage. You might play with the positioning of your feet, moving them closer towards your hips or further away to find what feels best today. Then we'll take a few rounds of hip circles here. Inhale to come forward and open the chest, and exhale to round the spine as you drop your chin towards your chest. We're going to do about 5 in total in this direction, so we have about 2 more to go, just working to find what feels good today. Now let's switch directions. Again, we're going to aim to do about 5 more on this side. We are continuing to move with our breath as we continue to loosen up the hips and find a gentle stretch through our spine. Let's do about 1 more here, inhaling to come forward and exhaling to round the spine before we meet in a neutral spine, sitting up tall. Now let's turn towards the side of our mat again as we find our tabletop position. We're going to do those same stretches on the other side now, so let's step our left toes back behind us. Again, we'll rock here for a few breaths, just enjoying a nice stretch through the calf and back of the left leg. Let's hold here for 1 more full round of breath. And as we exhale, let's step our left foot up in between our hands, finding our low lunge. Take a moment to check that your left knee is over your left toes before pushing off the ground and bringing your hands to rest on top of your left thigh. Again, we're going to pulse here, using our inhales to find length through our spine and our exhales to sink forward into our lunge. Inhale to lift and lengthen, allowing your breath to pull you up like you're inflating a balloon. And with your exhale, imagine you're deflating that balloon a bit as you allow your hips to sink forward and you find that deeper stretch. Check to make sure you aren't collapsing into your hands. They're just resting on our thighs here. Really, they're there more for balance than as a way to support our upper body. On your next exhale, drop your hands back to the mat as we find those open twists again. Place your left palm on the mat, and on an inhale, lift your right arm up to the sky. As you exhale, bring that right arm down again. Good, we're going to do 2 more here. So inhale to lift that right arm up, exhale to lower. Inhale to lift and find that open twist, and exhale to lower. We're now going to move into our 90-90 stretch. So let's heel-toe our left foot over to the right side of the mat, then sink our hips down to the ground. Roll onto that left hip as you bend your right leg to a 90-degree angle. This is a similar stretch to a pigeon pose, but slightly less intense and often more accessible in the later stages of pregnancy. We're going to hold here for a few breaths. So with each inhale, think about sending oxygen down to those hips and lower back. And with each exhale, think about finding some release and letting go of any tension you might still be holding in these regions. You want to make sure that you also work to keep your spine straight here. There can be a tendency to lean into one hip or the other, but you want to fight that and work to maintain a long and lean spine. Let's take 1 more deep inhale here, breathing in deeply through the nose. And as you exhale, let's roll onto our glutes again and find that butterfly pose. We're going to work to find a forward fold. So on your next inhale, think about lifting and lengthening. And as you exhale, bend at the waist and lean out over your feet. You could keep your hands resting on the soles of your feet or ankles, or bring them flat to the earth in front of you. Make sure to keep your spine straight here. We are not allowing it to curve or round or for our chest to fall forward. We don't want to compress baby by allowing the upper body to collapse here. So we're working to keep an active spine. You also want to work to avoid any strain in the neck, so keep your gaze out over your toes and just off your mat. We'll hold here for one more long inhale, breathing in deeply through the nose. And as you exhale, slowly push back out of the pose and find that tall and neutral spine again. Finally, we're going to find our final resting pose, our Shavasana. As you lower down onto your left side, you might windshield wiper the legs side to side, taking a final glute massage or just a few moments to work out any final kinks in the hips or lower back before coming all the way down onto your side. When you finally come all the way down onto the mat, take a moment to get comfortable. You might keep your legs straight, or you could bend both knees here. You might create a pillow for your head with your arms. You might keep your hands down at your side, or perhaps bring one hand to rest on your stomach and baby. With these last few moments of practice, allow your breath to return to normal and just take a moment to notice how you feel. You might take a moment to check in with baby or check in with your body to see if you feel a little bit looser, to see if you've maybe worked out any pain or discomfort or tightness you had at the start of class, and just notice if you're resting comfortably. I'm going to leave you here, but I encourage you to stay in Shavasana for as long as time allows. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more prenatal yoga content just like this. Thank you for practicing with me today. I hope to see and practice with you again soon. Namaste.